Yo, 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 what's up? It's your boy Mike the Dome once again. Damn. This morning I received a message via WhatsApp. And it kind of disturbed me that when you do something in your youth and you end up getting arrested for it, you end up becoming a felon. And because of drugs and because of the crowd you hang out with, your crew, the block, where you're from, and stuff like that, you end up going through a revolving door. That's what we call going in through central booking, going to criminal court, coming out, and going back in, coming out, going back in, coming out, until it gets to the point where you become a predicate. If you continue the process, you become a persistent. And once this happens, you either have two options: death or life in prison. But it so happens that God chooses people of that nature when he wants to make an impact on the world. I remember when I was doing my first bid upstate, 1986, 1987, 1988. I was in Comstock at the time. And in Comstock, I was there with Luca from Uptown Action. I was there with Frankie, may he rest in peace. I was there with Cabo Vela and a whole bunch of other Dominicans and Puerto Ricans from Washington Heights, Uptown New York. And one day in the yard, one of the guys came talking about, hey, yo, did you know Salvador became what was it the word he says? No, he actually said, yo, did you know that Salvador lost his mind? And we was like, what you mean lost his mind? And he was like, homie's loony, man. They giving him Thorazine. And we was like, what? What happened? He said he talking about he had a conversation with God. And we was like, oh, shit. We knew, or I knew Salvador from back in early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And I remember I had never met him personally, but I knew who he was because of the reputation this dude had. This dude was gangster. And he had a spot up by 207. And I remember going up there with my homeboy Wee Wee. We had to get some product and shit. And we went in there back in those days, 1980, 81. I don't remember exactly the year. This is the place where you went in, man, and the dude that opened the door for you had a goddamn Uzi and shit. There was another dude on the hallway with a motherfucking sawed-off shotgun. If he had to blow everybody on that hallway, everybody was gonna be hit with pellets. And then another nigga in the room had like a 45 between his laps behind a triple beam. This is the way shit was done at that time. We did what we had to do. We got our product. We left. That was it. But then in 1985, when we was running shit up in Washington Heights, and I was part of this crew that had a reputation, was making money. I remember I had my RX-7 at that time. We was rocking. And Salvador Sabino came to our headquarters with my homeboy Sweepy. Sweepy was a crimey of mine. We used to, do little petty crime shit, going into the windows, stealing stereos and shit like that. When I was, 15? Yeah. So 1985, I'm already 20 years old, and Salvador Sabino came into our headquarters, and I was at this meeting, because Salvador Sabino, as it turned out, from what Sweepy had told me, was the person that sold his first $100 worth of product to homie. So there was this respect between them. So they had both came home from upstate, and the meeting was because when Sweepy was out in the street, he was doing doogie. Somehow he stole something. I don't know what it was or what he did, or if it was a stick up in one of the spots. I don't know. The thing was that Salvador came, and at this meeting I was there, and they talked, and he said, listen, this kid, before he went upstate, he had a habit. You know how it is when you sick and you're looking for that money to get paid, and blasey. And he was like, nah, let it be. And, he's from the block. Sweepy lived right there on 173rd between Audubon and St. Nick. So, the beef was squashed, and Salvador and Sweepy went to work down by Billy Boy's territory, down by 160. And they got busted again, 1985. So when I went upstate in 1986, and I heard about this transformation or that he lost his mind, everybody was like, damn, is that the same Salvador that had the reputation that because this dude, he was hardcore and in prison too. You know what I'm saying? It turns out that, I got deported 1983. And as I have said before in my other podcast, I started going to church because I decided, listen, when I got deported, I went back illegally. It was easy at that time, 9/11 had not happened yet, so it was easy to go back. And I kept traveling back and forward. But then when I had my encounter with God, I was amazed, because I kept saying, if I go back to New York, I already was a predicate, and I get busted again, I'm going to be a persistent. How many years I get, I'm going to get life behind that, in parole. So I didn't want to go through that. My first son had been born 1994, so I was like, man, let me chill. So I burned all my papers. So when I got busted in 86, no, I think I had gotten busted in 85, but I came out on bail. I ran into Salvador and Sweepy on the bullpen in criminal court. Yo, what's up? There was like on the bullpen next to where I was. I had never seen him after that. That was the last time I seen him. He went upstate. Then I got busted again in '86 for that same, because I came out on bail, but I skipped. So when I got busted, the Warren Squad grabbed me in '86. I did my time, and the years passed. I came out in '88. I worked the streets 88, 89, 90. I got busted again. I went upstate again. I was in upstate 90, 91, 93, and then I got deported. So from my deportation till 1995, I traveled back and forward as an illegal immigrant. So one day, I hear Salvador Sabino's coming to Fountain of Salvation Church in Licey, which is a town 10 minutes away from my house. And I was like, damn, is that the same Salvador Sabino? Remember, this is 1995. Is that the same Salvador Sabino that I met with Sweepy? Sweepy was down here, deported, before I was. Salvador Sabino didn't get deported because, remember, he had that encounter with God in Fishkill, if I'm not mistaken. So when he was coming home, he was going to get deported, but some pastors and leaders of the church backed him up, went to immigration court with him, and he was able to come out and not get deported. So that was a blessing, because now he got his family. He got one of the biggest church in the Bronx, and he's doing great. God has blessed him. So when I find out, I go to this church to see if it was the same Salvador that I had met in 1985 in our headquarters when we was running shit with that crack. And when I seen him, he came in, I said, oh shit, it's him. He was healthier, you know what I'm saying? Because he was stocky. He was dressed to kill, with his suit, like an evangelist. So I go up to him. I wasn't the same skinny kid he met in 1985. I had gotten big myself, because remember, I had done 2 bits after I had met him. And I go, yo, Salvador, God bless. And he was like, I know you. I said, yeah, you know me. I just came because I heard you was going to come preach in this church. And I wanted to see if you remembered me. And he was like, where do I know you from? And I told him about that meeting in 1985 on our headquarters on 173rd and Audubon. And he was like, oh, are you that skinny white kid that? I said, yeah, that was me. The one that I ran into in the bullpen? I was like, yeah, that's me. Oh, he hugged me. He was all happy because he found out, that I was also going to church. I was trying to find God. And he was like, have you seen Sweepy? I said, yeah, man, we talked. Oh, man, bring Sweepy. I'm going to be here tomorrow. So I brought Sweepy with me. The next day, they hugged each other. We took pictures. And, man, we bonded like if we knew each other since we were kids, man. He's a couple of years older than me. And ever since then, he's been a mentor. He's been a mentor, and he has helped me in my times of need. He's always, shouting out and stuff like that. Well, Sweepy was doing good. He had a little grocery store down here, and damn, One day, one of our homeboys told him, "Yo, Sweepy, yo, man, they got doogie down here." He was like, "What?" And he had been drinking beer or rum or something like that. And I think he did a couple of blows. That mixture of alcohol and heroin took him out, man. Sweepy died right there on the spot. And, that broke our heart because, Sweepy had been married to this nice Dominican girl, had a little kid. He had this grocery store. He was working hard, but, by being a little bit drunk and being offered something that he did back in the days, like his judgment wasn't right, and he mixed this shit, and it took his life. We was devastated. Sabino was crying. He was like, "Damn," because he was trying to get Sweepy, to accept, the way of the Lord. And he kept telling you, "Yo, Sweepy, there's two roads, man." And he even wrote a book called Two Roads, Dos Caminos, his life story. I recommend it. And the reason I'm saying this right now is because ever since that time, talking about 1995, when he came down here to Fountain of Salvation Church, we've been tight. We've been tight. He's been a mentor, and he always shouts out. He always finds the way to get in contact with me. And when I have slid, he's always like, call me, "Yo, Mike, what's going on?" I remember back in 1987, my wife caught me smoking a little weed. And she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I was like, sometimes I feel like a blunt. And she called Sabino. And Sabino called me. He was like, "Yo, Mike, what's going on, man?" I said, "Man, this woman got me crazy, man. The only way I can chill," I told my homeboy, give me a little joint so I could calm down. And he's always, been there. And it's been 28 years since we ran into each other here in church. And it's been 38 years since we met each other in New York. And it's been more than 40 years since I've known, remember, I was a customer, 50, what? No, not 50. 43 years ago. I was 15. I was already running the streets. Why? I was a customer. Why am I saying all this? Because this man, he has traveled around the world as an evangelist. He got an association. He be coming down here to Dominican Republic when Dominican Republic gets hit by hurricanes and stuff like that, with containers full of clothes, food, all kinds of, he be doing these drives in New York, and he be helping his people out in San Pedro de Macorís, bringing mad boxes of clothes and food to help the poor people. Whenever he comes, he preaches in the baseball stadium in San Pedro de Macorís. That's his native town. And he's always looking out. All the ex-cons that are down here, when they find out that he's here, even if they're not, going to church, they go to see him. Because he always, "Yo, how you doing? You okay?" He'll hit him off with a couple of dollars and stuff like that. So he got the respect, because even though he has turned his life around in a radical way, he always remembers his roots, and he understands what people are going through. especially if they have not been saved, especially if they have not, had an encounter with God. So even if they're shisty, he'll still show them love, regardless. And this man moves around, with high profile politicians. You know what I'm saying? You'll see him in pictures with the mayor of New York City and stuff like that, because he got a big church. I'm talking about thousands of members, man, in the Bronx. I think 198 in Jerome. Heavenly Vision Christian Center, I believe is the name. So the reason that I'm doing this podcast on Salvador Sabino is because I find out this morning that he was going into Canada with another pastor and his wife, two couples, I believe, going to Canada, to Niagara Falls. And they refused him entry into Canada because of his past criminal record. I was like, damn. And he had been there before, because I had seen him on a video praying in Niagara Falls, wishing and praying for the Holy Spirit to come down and touch people. So now at this stage, 2023, this man has been home since what, 1990 or before that? I don't even remember how long he's been a pastor. Because when I met him in 1995, I don't know if he was an evangelist or if he had his church already in the Bronx. But, man, we're talking about what, 1990, 2023? We're talking about what, 33 years? And he was a preacher in prison. He was already, doing his thing. That's why he came home. That's why they gave him parole. That's why immigration didn't deport him. So when they denied him entrance into Canada, that made me feel like, yo, it doesn't matter how you turn your life around. This world will never forgive you. That's why sometimes you need to focus all your energy and all your mind on your relationship with God on a personal level. Because even church members, even other pastors, civilian authority, military, they will always judge you by what you was when you was young. This man is already gonna be a grandpa one of these days. You know what I'm saying? Because he's in his 60s. And this is things that he had done in his early teens and early 20s. And he's still paying the price for that. Luckily, that, he found his true self, and he's doing a great job at it. But, man, me personally, when I found out about this, I was like, if this man, has his own private home, has his church registered, he's on TV, he's been around the United States, I think in all 50 states. And he's only been denied entrance, I think, in 3 countries, if I'm not mistaken: Australia, Peru. I don't know, Peru, well, they probably thought, yeah, you trying to get close to that other country. I don't know, Peru, and now Canada. But from what I've heard, he went back and preached to, I think, Peru and Canada back in the days before. I don't have the exact information, but I think he did. So it's a shame, man, that even if you can prove, that you have been reformed, you will still be judged based on what you did when you was young. And this is something that he tells the youth, because he comes down here and he goes and does these evangelistic crusades inside the prisons in the Dominican Republic. And he tells these guys, listen, a criminal record will always outshine any legal activity you do. So maintain your focus on doing the right thing, walking the right path, and he'll always end up by saying, there is two ways in life. Make sure you choose the correct one. Man, I feel hurt. I feel hurt because I know what he has done. He shared with me that his son Gabriel just got married. I met his son Gabriel when my son Francis were little kids, and I remember Gabriel came down here and bit the shit out my son. I don't know where it was. If it was in his belly or his arm, he like grabbed him and my son was like, "What?" I know he won't remember that because my son was probably what 2, 3 years old, and Gabriel was like 2, 3 years old. And you know how kids are, man. They be battling for attention or whatever. And Gabriel and him was playing, and Gabriel ended up biting the shit out Ramses. Oh man, and he's a grown man now, in his 30s. Just got married with a beautiful girl. I wish him the best, man. And what can I say, man? Sabino, I love you, man, but I had to do this podcast, man, because when I got this information, I felt hurt like if it had been done to me. I felt hurt like if it had been done to me, man. One love. God bless. Hello to Kenya. Hello to your kids, man. And what can we do, man? We just got to keep having our faith, and keep our sight on the Lord. That's all we can do, man. We can't change these people. We can't change their laws, but we can change ourselves. God bless. This is Mike. Hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel, The Heights Podcast. This is something we do when we talk about, things that have gone down in Washington Heights and how most of us have changed our life for the better.